Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. I'm Van Taylor. I'm your U.S. Congressman here in Collin County. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time to participate in today's unemployment webinar. I know with the uncertainty comes fear and frustration, which is why I put this together. I'm trying to educate everybody here on how this program works. I've got Ed Serna from the Texas Workforce Commission and my friend, State Representative Matt Shaheen, to try to answer some questions for you regarding unemployment. Texas has long been known as a place for people to rise above, and I think that's exactly what we're doing in the midst of the threat of the coronavirus pandemic. It's not going to be easy either way, but we're going to together we're going to get this done. And we're gonna have to all work together to do that. And every day I've been reaching across the district, talking to people, and I've heard some really heart-wrenching stories of the difficulties that people are having. And I know that this program is an important safety net program to help us get through these hard times. And my office is working nonstop. We were making calls over the weekend. We've been, coming in early, staying late, trying to help people with all kinds of different issues. And this is a really important one, which is why we're having this webinar. As we continue these discussions, there are other legislative things that we're working on, and it is a somewhat fluid situation. You're watching all levels of government, county, state, federal government react and try to deal with this both medically and economically. And I'll just say that Collin County is home to some of the very hardest workers I've seen. We have an incredibly successful, diverse community. We're very blessed by that diversity, by that success. And this issue has really challenged us. And I have no doubt that we're going to rise above. And someone who I know has risen above and has been a great leader in Collin County is my friend Matt Shaheen. He's our state representative for House District 66. So he represents the southwestern corner of Collin County. And he's done a great job in the State House. Prior to this, he was in County Commissioner's Court, so he has a really good understanding of what's going on and how to help. So with that, Matt, I'll throw it over to you to give some comments.
Hey, Congressman Taylor, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this very, very important webinar. Just a couple things to everybody that's participating. We know, like the Congressman said, these are incredibly unprecedented times. We know you're concerned. We know you're worried. We are too. We are going to get through this. It's important that you understand that you're not alone. There's 29 million Texans throughout our state that are battling this. And I want you to know that my staff, myself, we are here for you. We've fielded already over 1,000 emails and phone calls. And we're going to continue to be here, stay late into the evening, responding to your needs. Then there's light at the end of the tunnel. Texas has responded to this in a profound way. Actions taken at the state level by the governor himself, of course, the federal response and local here at the county and city. We're going to get through this. And I will tell you that people are responding and it is having an impact. One of the things that I've been doing personally is monitoring the caseload, the number of corona cases that are in the Collin County, as well as the recoveries. And I will tell you, for the last 3 days, the number of cases has started to decline. So by no means are we out of the woods yet, but your actions, your diligence is making an impact. Hopefully this isn't a blip. My prayer is this is the trend. We'll get through this, and we'll get through this in a rapid fashion. So with that, I am looking forward to your questions. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about the responsiveness of the Texas Workforce Commission and the website and the phone, the availability of the phone banks. And there's been significant amount of improvements made that I know you're going to hear about. And I look forward to answer your questions towards the end of this webinar. So thank you again, Congressman Taylor, for having me, and back to you.
Hey, Matt, thank you. Thank you very much for being on here with us. And I just want to go over a couple things that we're doing at the federal government, just to kind of give you a little bit bigger picture of what's transpiring. So, a big thing that happened 2 weeks ago, Friday, was the CARES Act passed. That was a $2 trillion package designed to help our economy weather the storm of the coronavirus. And so the CARES Act expanded unemployment benefits. This is one of the big features in it. And we included independent contractors, as well as we included contractors, 1099 contractors. So by doing 1099 contractors and then self-employed. So we brought those in, try to help everybody out. And so in addition to what the state is providing, the federal government is stepping in with an additional $600 a week. And then we also extended the unemployment time. So additional 13 weeks of unemployment benefits. So those are two steps I think that are really important to try to get us in a better place and to try to help our economy. Also in the CARES Act that I voted for 2 weeks ago Friday is a one-time rebate check. And so that is every American who has a valid Social Security number, who meets certain income thresholds, will get a $1,200 check. That is for individuals, and then couples get a $2,400 check. And then they get an additional $500 for each child if their income for an individual is $75,000, and then for a couple is below $150,000. And then that phases out to zero at $99,000 for an individual and $198,000 for a couple. If the IRS has your direct deposit information, they will directly deposit that to you. And then furthermore, if you do not have that, a website is being created. We were talking about that this morning. There should be a website up hopefully by this week, so that you can input your information onto the website, so they can track you down, or if you haven't filed a tax return. So they're going to try to direct deposit it. My understanding is direct deposits have already started going out, and I'm sure that I'll be hearing a lot about that probably in the next week. But the hope is to try to get that out sometime this week. So that one-time rebate check under the CARES Act is another step, one of many steps to try to help Americans get through this. Another very important project inside the CARES Act was the Paycheck Protection Program. The Paycheck Protection Plan, the idea there is $350 billion in forgivable loans for employers that keep employing employees. And the forgiveness is based on paying employees. So it's to try to encourage employers to keep hiring employees. And so that is the intent. And the effort there that we're trying to do, so that's what the Paycheck Protection Plan is. I worked a lot on that last week, trying to help employers, get those checks so that they continue to keep employees employed. Another piece of the CARES Act was emergency paid sick leave, and that's up to 2 weeks of emergency paid sick leave. And that was really to try to help employers that say, wow, I've got an employee who has the coronavirus. I need them to go home and quarantine. I don't want them here at work. I don't want them affecting other people. And so the idea there was to provide the resources, and we figured out how to do that through the payroll tax system. And then finally is qualified paid family leave. That's up to 10 weeks. And so that's at a 2/3 of wages, not to exceed $200 per day and $10,000 in aggregate. And so these are all different things that we've done. And so enhanced unemployment benefits is another thing that we've done. And I'm really glad to go over that. And that's what this webinar is about that specific thing. And we're getting a lot of questions about it. And let me just point out that the demand in unemployment benefits has gone up exponentially. It has been an incredible increase. I think in Collin County, in a given week last year, you were looking at a couple hundred people, 300-400 people a week would request unemployment benefits. I think last week, last number I saw, it was 10,000. So the increase in the number of people that are asking unemployment benefits, to say it's overwhelmed the system, I think is a fair statement. And I appreciate everybody's patience. Ed Serna is working night and day. He's a busy man, but I appreciate him taking the time to be with us and to answer our questions. He is the executive director of the Texas Workforce Commission, so he's an important guy in running this system, and there's a lot of weight on his shoulders. So, Ed, thank you for being with us today, and please, you've got about 20 minutes to tell us about your program and how it works, and answer people's. And then we'll have a question and answer thereafter. You can answer some people's questions.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Congressman and Representative. Good seeing both of you all. So as you pointed out, Congressman, there's a lot going on here at TWC and the Workforce Commission. We are serving an unprecedented number of Texans. It started early in March. I remember our unemployment insurance director reporting to our commission that he had seen an increase in claims from the previous week, and this was probably the week of March 14th. He had seen an increase from the previous week, going from about 3,000 claims in a week to about 6,000 claims in a week. The very next day, and that was on a Tuesday, the very next day, it was 16,000 claims, and then it just continued to skyrocket. And everybody knows that the number of claims is not necessarily the number of people that are trying to get to us. There are two ways to file for unemployment. One is by calling one of our 4 call centers, and now we have 7 call centers. I'll talk about that in a little while. But by calling one of our call centers or by going online and filing your claim online. The majority of Texans that file for unemployment insurance do so online. In excess of 92, 93% of the claimants file online. The remainder go through our call centers. Our call centers were incredible. We're just immediately overwhelmed. We moved more people over to handle those calls from inside of TWC. We've also contracted with 3 outside call centers to get additional people on the phones in different call centers. And now when it's all said and done, we'll have 750 people in those outside call centers taking calls for us, as well as the staff that we have inside the agency, which is in excess of 400 people receiving calls. So we'll have over 1,000 people just taking incoming calls. Online, we did begin to see our system get sluggish because it was overwhelmed. So what we did is we increased the number of servers that we have running that software, running that application for us. We doubled it from 5 to 10, and now we've doubled that from 10 to 20. We also instituted a chatbot, which is a first for us, chatbot that can, it's got artificial intelligence that can address some of the questions that our people trying to get a hold of us have, and kind of maybe help unclog some of those phone lines. This past, I think it was Sunday, we processed payments for over 137,000 Texans and paid out in excess of $180 million. We routinely receive over 800,000 to 900,000 calls a day. We've increased our phone lines. We've added another 400 phone lines to take those calls, in addition to the call centers that we're adding. And we are making progress. We know that there are people that have been trying to get a hold of us, desperately trying to get a hold of us. All the employees at TWC, our call center staff, our staff that are calling outbound to resolve any issues that come up when you file your claim, and everybody, our commissioners, me, all of us understand that this is not just about the money. This is a lifeline for our neighbors, our fellow Texans, and we intend to serve them. I want to assure everybody of a couple of things. If you haven't been able to get a hold of us, don't give up on us. Please continue to try. We will get you the benefits that you need. We're backdating benefits. We don't normally backdate benefits, but then again, we're not normally overwhelmed by volume. We are backdating the benefits to your date of separation. Right now, we're going back to the time that the governor declared the emergency. There are some folks that lost their jobs because of COVID-19 before then, and we are accommodating that also. Second thing is, you don't have to do anything to get the extra $600 that the congressman mentioned. You don't have to, if you're already getting benefits, you don't have to call us back to get that added. We're going to do it automatically. If you just got your benefits approved, we're adding that on top of that. You don't need to call us back, and I would encourage you or urge you not to call back, just to confirm something that you may have received from us in writing, or to confirm that you don't need to do anything to get the 600. You don't. We're going to add the 600, and that'll help take some of the clog out of the phone lines. With regard to the self-employed or the contract employees, several of you filed and were told you're not eligible for any benefits. That's prior to when the CARES Act was signed by the president, and when we made the changes in the computer system. As all of you know, prior to the COVID-19 emergency, self-employed and contract employees and nonprofit employees were not eligible. They are eligible now because of the CARES Act, but our system's default was to say you're not eligible for any benefits. We've made changes so that now you won't get that message. But if you've received that message in the past and you are self-employed or a contract employee or work for a nonprofit, we will notify you. We will reach out to you and send you a communication with information on what we need from you so that we can perfect your claim and get you the money that you need, including the $600. So the base amount of pandemic unemployment assistance plus the $600. I would also encourage individuals who, let's say you filed a claim in March and regular unemployment insurance, filed a claim in March and were told you were ineligible because you didn't have enough work history, to file again, because April is a new quarter and it adds information to your work history. And even though you may still not be eligible for unemployment insurance benefits, you may be eligible for some of the pandemic unemployment assistance that's available because of the CARES Act. So I would encourage you to do that. We, again, have your contact information and we will reach out to you. You will receive an email from us. If you gave us an email address, you'll receive a letter. If you didn't give us an email address, but we'll reach out to you with instructions and information about how to get those benefits and get them all squared away. We continue to add, I already talked about it, we continue to add resources. The legislature, both the House and the Senate here in Texas, have volunteered to assist us. And we have probably close to 300, maybe upwards of 300, maybe 400 individuals who will be receiving training this week that are staff members and in some cases members of our legislature. And we are very appreciative for that extra assistance. We've moved just about as many people as we can internally over to assist our customers. And having these additional resources available to us is going to let us have them provide assistance as well. So we're very thankful. That help, after they get done with training, then they will start assisting us as well. And we're very appreciative about that. There are some other state agencies that have offered to provide staff to us. And where we can, we're going to take advantage of that and bring them on board to assist as much as possible. So one, I want to assure everybody that though it is hard to get a hold of us, and it is unusual, but though it is hard to get a hold of us, we will provide you the benefits that you need. We're not going to give up until every Texan that deserves to be served is served and is taken care of during this emergency. One. Two, we're doing everything that we can to add resources, both internal as well as contract, as well as technical, as well as volunteer. We're going to continue to add resources until everybody gets served. And then third, if you receive communication from us that confirms that you will receive benefits, you don't need to call us back to speak to someone to confirm the confirmation. I would encourage you to just use that as your assurance that you're going to get benefits, including the pandemic unemployment insurance or the extra benefits that are brought on by the CARES Act. The last thing I'd like to say is I'd like to appeal to our neighbors, our fellow Texans who are seeking help from us. We did post on our website, and it is voluntary. This is a voluntary request. There's no mandate to this, but we did post on our website a schedule for folks to apply for unemployment insurance assistance, whether you are a self-employed or independent contractor or a regular employee of somebody who had to let you go because of COVID-19 temporarily, you were furloughed, we published a schedule, and we asked that if you can, that you follow that schedule. It's based on the first digit of the area code of your phone number. And the way we have it divided out is a fourth of Texans get served during each of those periods so that everybody gets served. But that would help sort of unclog the lines and free up some of the pressure. But it is voluntary. We do ask that you try to work with us and contribute to not only you getting served, but your neighbors and your friends getting served as well. So Congressman, now we'll take any questions or from you or Representative Shaheen or people that are participating in the town hall that I can assist you with.
Thanks, Ed. So this is Anna with Congressman Taylor's office. And we have a whole bunch of questions that came in before the event, as well as several questions that have come in during the event, and I'm sure will continue coming in. So I'm just going to start kind of going through those and reading those. Some of them are questions about material we have covered, but we found that just, clarifying again is helpful for folks. So just so you're aware of there. Okay. Let's see here. So just in reference to the calling in at particular times for folks trying to apply, someone said that there's a restriction to log on. Does that mean that they can only log on their designated day?
No, we have no restrictions for when you can log on or when you can call. In both cases, it is voluntary. Now, there may be that the system is down or slow that particular day, but we are not metering or limiting someone from applying based on the day. Now, I will say, when you receive notice from us that your application was approved and you're accepted for benefits, in that notice it says call us to trigger a payment. You have a designated day to trigger a payment there. That's different. That you should adhere to that day. It's either a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are open days. So if you didn't make your day, let's say you were scheduled to reach us on Monday and you couldn't, then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are open. But that's for requesting a payment after you've gotten your claim in. What I was talking about is filing that initial claim. That's the voluntary part that is. That's on our website with a schedule based on the first digit of your area code.
Great. Our next question is actually from a mom in Plano, and she said that she would like to volunteer. Where should she go? Who should she contact in order to get more information and to sign up to volunteer?
Excellent. We would appreciate that very much. If she can, we created an email address called UI External Volunteers. So it's the letters U and I, like unemployment insurance, external volunteers, plural, volunteers, at twc.state.tx.us. And we would appreciate any help we can get. That is awfully nice. And it doesn't have to be full-time. Our call centers, by the way, are now open, effective today. They're open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. But if someone's volunteering, if that mom from Plano has just a couple of hours every other day to help us, we can certainly take advantage of that.
Is in regards to the additional authorized under the CARES Act. Do you have any idea when those payments should start being distributed?
Sure. We started actually issuing the first payments today. We started issuing the first payments. We will go retroactive back to April the 4th, which is the soonest that those resources became available to us. But those payments, we've already started issuing those payments out. The extra $600 and the self-employed, contract employees, and nonprofits being eligible. But we've already started issuing payments out for those, going effective for that extra amount back to April the 4th, which is the earliest that we could go. And there's nothing that you need to do in order to secure that extra $600 of those extra payments. Now, if you're self-employed or a contract employee, you do need to file, but you don't need to do anything to get the extra $600.
Great. Some folks have asked, do they need to apply for payments every few weeks?
Yes, there's still a requirement to apply for payments, and I think it's called a continuing claim every 2 weeks. We've suspended the work search, but the reason that we're continuing to do that, and it's pretty simple as I understand it. First of all, to do that, you call in. We have an integrated voice response system. You answer some questions on that voice response system, and it addresses everything that you need. The reason we need to continue to do that is the waiver of work search is not going to last forever. At some point, the governor is going to begin to open businesses back up, and we need to be able to make sure that we remind the individuals that are receiving benefits that it's time to begin to either look for work again or return to their employers. And that's the best way to keep touch with us is through that. But it should be a relatively simple system.
We still have a lot of questions coming in for independent contractors and their applications and 1099 workers. Can you just maybe go over that information again?
Sure, we'll be glad to. Two things. First of all, under the CARES Act, if you're a self-employed or an independent contractor, a 1099 employee, or if you're worked for a nonprofit and weren't really eligible before, but if you're a self-employed, we're going to focus on that, a self-employed or a 1099 or contract employee, you need to submit a benefits claim. When you submit that claim, it will ask you for specific information to help us verify your income. So it may be that we're asking for copies of tax records or billing statements where you've been paid, and that'll help us establish your benefit amount. If you don't have that, the minimum benefit for someone who is self-employed or a contract employee, a 1099 employee, is $207 a week. And then on top of that is the $600 a week as a result of the CARES Act. But you submit a claim like a regular employee submitting an unemployment insurance claim, except we ask for a little bit of different information there. Once we perfected that claim, everything else applies with regard to the $600, which I've just mentioned, but also after I think it's about a 14-day to 21-day period of time, then we will direct deposit that into your bank account, or we will issue you a debit card. We will issue the debit card to you that'll have those funds on there.
Great. JR asked, are part-time workers eligible for unemployment benefits as well?
Yes, you should still submit. If you have 2 jobs, you should still file for unemployment. If you're a part-time employee, you should still file for unemployment because you may be eligible for some partial unemployment, but also you may be eligible for benefits from the CARES Act.
So Gary asked, how do I qualify for an additional $600 per week? We're seeing still a lot of questions come in for the for the CARES Act. Do you just want to touch upon that one more time?
Sure. One more time. There's no qualification necessary for the additional $600 at all. Once you have qualified for either unemployment insurance benefits, the regular unemployment insurance benefits, or the pandemic unemployment assistance that came as a result of the CARES Act, which basically means you were a self-employed or contract employee. Once you qualify for those, you automatically get the $600. You don't need to ask for it. You don't need to submit another application, and you get the full $600. That is not prorated or based on wages or earnings or anything. It is just a flat $600 on top of what you were already qualified for. So you don't need to do anything with that. And I would also add as a point of clarification, maybe not quite what Gary was asking, but if your benefits expired, let's say that you were unfortunately on unemployment insurance, receiving unemployment insurance benefits, and those benefits expired, the CARES Act added another 13 weeks. It extended your benefits for another 13 weeks. Once that triggers in, then those individuals will also automatically receive the $600 on top of whatever benefits they're receiving.
Okay. So you had talked about folks who had 2 jobs, but this is a little bit of a more specific situation. Sherry from Murphy said, what should a person do if they had 2 jobs? One is an employee and one is the self-employed person.
You should submit the highest wage or earnings. So let's say that you were just starting your self-employed business, you were just starting your own business, and you were working and your primary income was coming from your employer. File for unemployment insurance benefits based on that higher number. If you were self-employed but had taken a part-time job because you needed extra income or for some other reason, but your self-employment activities brought you the highest income, then file based on that income. You can file for one or the other, but pick the one that will get you the highest benefit. And there is if you go to our website and you look at the unemployment insurance page, there's kind of a calculator or an estimator that you can use before you actually submit. But you should apply for the one that's at the highest income that will bring you the highest benefit.
Okay. And just in between questions, I do want to remind everyone on the call that, and I just put it in the chat feature on the right side of the screen, some resources, both from Texas Workforce Commission and as well as Congressman Taylor's office that people can look at as well. Our next question is another specific question, but from an individual in Allen. We have a number of preschool workers that we have had to lay off due to coronavirus. Their preschool is an extension of their church, which is tax exempt. Since they don't pay unemployment tax, do their employees qualify for unemployment?
As a result of the CARES Act, they do. They should. That was one of the things that I think that Congress and the President were thinking about, were all the individuals that normally would not apply for unemployment insurance assistance. So those individuals would apply, and they should submit for unemployment assistance, and they would also get the $600 automatically.
We still have a lot of questions coming in from people who have not been able to actually submit their application online. And I know you talked about this, and I know you guys are doing a lot of work on this, but can you just go over, maybe, do you have a timeline for when you expect to be able to process, or if there's just any tips and suggestions for folks trying to submit their applications?
Sure. If you're trying to submit your application online, then I would recommend, we see a decline in individuals trying to access our online systems from between about midnight to about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. You already know that the majority of people submit their claims online using our unemployment benefits system. Early on, that system had some issues with it. We've expanded our capacity. We've doubled the servers, and we're doubling them again. One thing people have often asked, that system is available 7/24, our call centers are not. Other people have asked, well, why don't you go to your call centers, especially since you're having contract call centers 7/24? Unfortunately, our system runs on an old mainframe computer. I shouldn't say old, the computer itself is new, but it's an old mainframe computer system that was built back in the 1990s. The federal government provided us with funding, and the state legislature provided us with appropriations authority for this biennium, this 2-year period, to replace that system. We had finished an open procurement and had negotiated down finalists. We were negotiating with the finalists when this emergency hit. We had to suspend that. Of course, that's a 2 to 3 year project anyway, just because it's a massive system. We had to suspend that. So what we're doing is everything we can to bolster up the existing system that we have. We have, like I said, added more memory, more servers, more everything else that we can. We've made sure that nothing else is running on that mainframe computer. But in order to get in, I would recommend, one, that you have all the documentation that you need in front of you, so that you don't have to incomplete the session. You do get in, you're in the middle of a session, and then you've got to exit it. Have everything that you need in front of you, and then you might try the off hours for improved access. We are finding a lot of people seeing improved access when they try between about 12 and 5 versus the normal 8 to 5.
Great. Do you have an average turnaround time for people who have applied, and they're, one, how long it's taking applications to be approved or denied, and then two, when they can see or expect their first payment?
Sure. The average turnaround time, I'm going to do 2 scenarios, one without a problem, one with a problem. The average turnaround time without a problem is just a couple of days, and then you'll receive a notification from us saying that you were eligible for benefits. Here's your estimated benefit amount. And then it gives you the information to request a payment. When you request that payment, you should normally receive a direct deposit or a debit card within 14 to 21 days. Most of that delay is due to the banking system being able to process our payments. And it's not because of COVID-19. There are just certain checks and balances in the banking system and in these processes. But it should be within 14 to 21 days from the date you submit that request for payment based on the instructions that we give you. If you've submitted an initial claim and there's an issue with it, someone will probably reach out to you within the first couple of days of your submission, get that cleared up. It's going to tell you, the automatic system default is going to tell you to call this 800 number, and you're going to try to call the 800 number. You might get in. More than likely, to be honest, you're probably not going to get in, because we're getting close to 1 million calls a day to those call centers. But what we've started doing is outbound calls. So we will call you. We call those things assignments. We will call you to get the information that we need from you. Once that's taken care of, then you'll get notification from us on when and how to request payment. And once you do that, then you're back into the normal cycle of about 14 to 21 days to actually receive either the direct deposit or a debit card from us.
Our benefits and regarding both sets, so those from TWC as well as the extra 600 from the feds, are those taxable? Should those be treated as taxable income? Will folks pay taxes on that money?
There are portions of those that are the taxes will be due on. I unfortunately don't know the specific amounts about whether the CARES Act funding will be how that'll be treated by the IRS, but I believe that regular unemployment insurance benefits will be are normally included as income.
Okay. Some folks have questions about the waiting week. This individual says, "I understand that we no longer have to wait. However, we do need to go ahead and request the payment. They have no prior experience. They did apply last week, but it says that they're not eligible to request their first payment until the 21st.
Right. That doesn't have anything to do with the waiting week. The waiting week existed, and when we have it in place, exists for, there's a whole week that sits there before we even begin to process your claim. And it doesn't have to do with our paperwork. It has to do with making sure that within that first period of time, you've been looking for a job, you may have found one, or it provides some other clarifying information. But that waiting week has been removed. So what you're seeing now is just the normal scheduling of, without that waiting week, the normal scheduling of when to request your payment. And that's just due to the volume of of individuals that are requesting payments.
What if you live in Texas, you're a Texas resident, but you work in another state?
Ooh, that's kind of complicated, and I have to admit, I'm not that familiar with where you should file, but I believe that you should still try to file with Texas. We've had a couple of situations come up, some contract employees, but mostly oil field workers who are working either in Oklahoma or in Louisiana on offshore rigs or in refineries or something. And they're kind of getting a little confused about that, and we've advised them to go ahead and file with your state of residence. If we have an issue with it, then we'll work with you to get what you need to do with that particular state.
How long does an individual need to have been employed prior so that they can be eligible for unemployment?
You need to have at least 5 quarters of eligibility or 5 quarters of taxable wages. However, the CARES Act changed a lot of that, which is why early on I was encouraging individuals who may have filed in early March to refile or reattempt to submit an application for benefits. April started a whole nother quarter. That adds a whole nother quarter to your eligibility. Plus, in a lot of cases, you may be eligible, if not for an unemployment benefit or a pandemic unemployment assistance, but you might be eligible for the $600.
The next question is that when filling out the application, furlough was not an option on that application. So what do you recommend individuals choose? Some are saying that they're selecting layoff, but what is your guidance there?
There's not a specific guidance. There's another checkbox later on or further down that says, because of COVID-19, layoff is fine, business closed is fine. We thought about adding a field for furlough, but again, this is an old mainframe system, and by the time we got that done, we'd have enough people applying that it wouldn't make sense to have something separate. Future systems will have more flexibility for us. We already know that. They'll be cloud-based, much more agile from the perspective of being able to adjust to changes. But in this case, if you check, reduction in force or a business closed or anything else like that, as long as you didn't quit of your own accord, your business or the business owner, not your business, but the business you were working for, the business owner had to say, look, I've got to let you guys go, whether they call it a furlough or just a scaling back or a shutting down. As long as you didn't quit of your own accord, you'll be eligible for unemployment insurance benefits.
Can you again share the phone numbers for the call centers?
I don't have them in front of me, and
Okay.
They're on our website.
And we'll send out an email with all that information
Okay,
for
thank
everyone
you.
to know.
I don't want to do anything to mess up my my video conference by going to the website and getting that information for you, because then I know I'll mess things up. I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a couple more questions and then we'll wrap the event up. The next question is, for folks who have received communication from TWC saying they need more information, it doesn't specify the best way to contact TWC according to this caller. So do you have, how should people follow up with TWC on those?
Well, you can certainly call the 800 number, but that's where I mentioned we're going to be calling out. We call those things assignments, and we have almost as many people in TWC working assignments as we have in TWC answering phone calls. At one point, we were up to almost 500,000 assignments. We're down to less than 250,000 now, less than 250. We will probably contact you to get the information we need to perfect your claim. But you can certainly contact us, attempt to contact us, and people do get through And I don't mean that flippantly. We've already processed over 1 million claims. This past Friday, we processed within 25 days over 1 million claims, and that's more than we did in all of 2019. So you can get in. You can try to call the 800 number, but in those cases where there's information that we need, that's where I mentioned we will be calling out. And instead of you calling in, we're going to be contacting you to get that information to get your claim perfected. And we have more and more people working on that as well.
And this question actually has to do with the information you just shared, but since TWC is reaching out, will that only be done through email and mail? Will there be phone calls? There's some individuals who are worried about phishing scams, potentially, of people pretending to be TWC. Can you share maybe some advice or how they can confirm that it is in fact TWC reaching out? Because we don't want anyone giving personal information to anyone else.
Right. We're very concerned about that too, because we're calling out more and more and more, and these volunteers that are helping us, we have staff working at home because of stay-at-home orders or other requirements. So individuals might get a call, and it'll be email, but it'll also be by phone. And phone is the most expedient, and we're going to have more people. Calling. A couple of things that you can do. First of all, the caller should identify themselves and where they're at, especially if the number looks a little suspicious or if it's a blocked number. Second, there's certain information that you applied, that you included in your application that other people wouldn't know. We don't share our information with anybody else except the people that are working for us, and they have to go through background checks. But if someone says, okay, well, if you can just tell me the last employer that you worked at, I can confirm it. And you should say, no, you have that information. Why don't you tell me what I put on the application, and I will tell you whether that is right or wrong. Because anybody that we have calling out is going to have that information in front of them. So if you get somebody that says, give me your social security number, don't do that. Or give me information and I'll confirm it. I'm the person calling you. You give it to me and I'll confirm it. Just flip it on them and say, no, why don't you tell me what I submitted and I'll confirm what I submitted. And then thirdly, we will never, ever, ever ask you for payment for any reason at all. If anybody says, well, in order to help us with the rush, we're using an outside contractor to blah, 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 and I just need a credit card for $5, or $3, do not do that. Never give any TWC employee or TWC volunteer a credit card information, anything like that. We don't charge for what we do, it's free. But the best thing with regard to the scam, again, to repeat what I've said, if it doesn't look like a number that would be TWC, then ask that individual to provide you with information that they have about you that is on your claim, because they have that information. And if someone says, well, no, the way we work is you got to give me that, just say, never mind, I'm not interested. I'm gonna call TWC or reach out to somebody else that can help me. Don't kind of flip the tables on them, because there will be people. We are very concerned about that. We normally have outbound call operations, but not to this scale and not with this many volunteers. And that's the one downside with the volunteers, is they're going to be very helpful, but they're going to add to the suspicions that people have, rightfully so, in today's world. Even during an emergency, people will try to take advantage of the situation to cheat our neighbors, and we don't like that.
All right, that is our last question for now. Congressman Taylor is going to join us again. And before he does, I just want to remind everyone, we are going to email this webinar around later today to everyone who participated, if you want to go back and listen, and we will send out additional resources as well.
Yeah, really appreciate that, Ed. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I think this is clearly a learning process for so many people. I talked to someone yesterday and said, look, I'm 33. I've always worked every day of my life. It's the first time I've ever been unemployed. I've always worked, 1 or 2 or 3 jobs, at the same time. And this is just completely new for me. it's a completely new world. And I think we're all trying to figure out part of this, I think, is expectations. And so I just hope if you could just share. So you mentioned you're getting 1 million calls a day. How many calls are you actually able to handle?
We're handling in excess of about 200,000 to 300,000 a day, and that number is going to continue to go up as we bring these outside call centers online.
So your ability is going to go up even as and hopefully as people get taken care of, the calls go down. So
Yes, sir.
I know a lot of people, I just want to say, I've talked to a lot of people who are very frustrated. They're trying to get through, and I know you're doing the best you can working through it. And one of the things we'll do is we'll certainly share for the people in Collin County the different times that people are supposed to call. I know getting the information is really important. So
Yes, sir.
really appreciate being here. And again, I just want to emphasize this is a state of Texas program. Obviously, as the congressman for Collin County, I care about making sure this thing works. It's a federal state partnership in some way, but I'll let Representative Shaheen. Matt, do you want to give a couple minutes of closing remarks?
Yeah, you bet. Congressman, thanks again. I think this is a great resource for both of our constituents. Ed, thank you. My staff and I have been talking to a lot of your people and appreciate how you're expanding your capacity, being able to help more and more people. Everybody, we know this is disruptive. It's quite frankly, it's scary. But I want to remind you as we go through this as a state that this does have, of course, a beginning, a peak, and then this will end. We'll get through this. And I know these are often confusing times, and quite frankly, they're frustrating. So I just want to remind you that I'm here for you. My staff is here for you. So I'm going to give you my email address. And if you're just at your wit's end and you're just not getting through, reach out to me and we'll help you as much as we can. My personal email is matt.shaheen, and that's SHAHEEN @house.texas.gov. And we'll do everything we can to help you. We're working a lot of late evenings and weekends, of course. But again, we're very confident that we're going to get through this, and we'll get through this together as a state. So Ed, thank you again. Congressman Taylor, thank you for all that you're doing.
Yeah, I know. I really appreciate everybody being on here. It's pretty amazing to have a webinar with 350 people on it at the very end. I mean, that's a pretty amazing level of interest. And I think what Matt said is just totally correct. We're going to get through this together. These are hard times. These are trying times. We're in Congress. We're funding through the CARES Act more unemployment benefits so people can get through this time. And there's a whole variety of things we're doing. We want to be a resource. We want to be an asset to help everybody in our community get through this. Just know that your congressman and his whole staff, we are working. We're coming in early, we're leaving late, and we're working through Easter Sunday just to try to take care of as many people as we can, because every single person matters and every person is important. Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to be on here. We're going to email this to you. We're going to try to get questions that are that were not answered during this webinar. We're going to get the answers for those, try to get those out to you. And we're going to do everything we can to try to help take care of this. This is clearly really important. I mean, there's a lot on the line here. So we're committed to trying to help. And I just encourage you to go to VanTaylor.house.gov/workers. It's a specific page we have specifically to help employees. We've got one for seniors. We've got one for business owners. So we're one for veterans. So we've got a lot of different things. We're trying to tailor our content to what people need. Do know we're flat out. We're working night and day. And so people ask specific questions. Sometimes we're giving here's the fact sheet with the 20 FAQs, frequently asked questions. And if that isn't enough, just call us back. Let us know. We want to give you the answer. And we are fortunately able to handle all the volume that's coming into the Van Taylor, into my congressional office. So grateful to all of you. And I know this is a hard time, but I have every confidence that we're going to get through this together. So Ed, thank you for being on here. People in Collin County appreciate it. And this webinar actually will be available to anybody. So anybody can go to the Van Taylor website. We're not getting crashed down quite as bad as your website is. So they can go to our website if they want to understand a little bit about some of your comments. I appreciate it. And we'll shoot an email out to everybody. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Really appreciate it. Great webinar. And like I said, together, we're going to get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.